Protecting marriage and family boundaries. Why it still matters today. When we read Leviticus 20:10-21, it's easy to focus on the severity of the penalties and miss the heart of the message. But if we look deeper, we discover that God is not simply listing rules. He is protecting relationships, preserving families, and establishing boundaries that allow society to flourish. Throughout these verses, God addresses adultery, incest, and other prohibited sexual relationships. Each command reinforces the same principle. Family relationships are sacred and should not be violated. Marriage is meant to be a covenant of faithfulness, and family boundaries are meant to create safety, trust, and stability. Think about it this way. Every healthy society depends on healthy families. When trust inside the home breaks down, the effects ripple through entire communities. Children lose security, marriages fracture, and generations inherit wounds that often continue for years. God's commands were designed to prevent that destruction before it began. Even today, we can see the importance of these principles. Marital unfaithfulness can shatter trust and divide families. Exploitative relationships within families create lasting emotional and psychological damage. When boundaries disappear, confusion and pain often follow. The wisdom of Leviticus is that some boundaries are not restrictions meant to limit life. They are guardrails meant to protect it. The New Testament echoes this same design. In Genesis 2:24, God established that a man shall leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. Jesus later affirmed this in Matthew 19:6, saying, "What therefore God hath joined together, let not man put asunder." Hebrews 13:4 reminds believers, marriage is honorable in all, and the bed undefiled. This doesn't mean that every family is perfect, or that every marriage is easy. Scripture is filled with people who failed in these areas, yet God still offered grace, forgiveness, and restoration to those who repented. The standard remains high, but so does God's mercy. From a teaching perspective, Leviticus 20 calls us to see relationships through God's eyes. It reminds us that love without boundaries can become destructive, while boundaries established by God create freedom, trust, and flourishing. The chapter teaches that holiness is not confined to worship services or religious rituals. It extends into our homes, our marriages, and the most personal parts of our lives. For believers today, protecting marriage means choosing faithfulness when temptation arises, communicating honestly when conflict comes, and honoring commitments even when they require sacrifice. Protecting family boundaries means respecting the roles God has established, guarding the vulnerable, and refusing to normalize behavior that destroys trust. Ultimately, Leviticus 20 points beyond rules to God's character. He is a God of order rather than chaos, covenant rather than convenience, and faithfulness rather than betrayal. When His people honor marriage and respect family boundaries, they reflect His holiness to a watching world.